As soon as it hits that.
I can't hear you now. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
For some reason, I can't hear you.
Oh, wow. I hear
Hold
you
on.
now.
Let me see something.
Okay. Your sound is off.
Now, can you hear me?
I can.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Okay, good. All right.
We're going to make this work.
So, hello, everyone. We're live learning with Miss Nancy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see two people have come on in. We need everybody to come in because we have a wonderful show lined up for you today. And if you were with us last week, we had a visitor. We had another wonderful young man, Isaac Cahill, my son, who talked about, despite what you heard, fathers are important. And before I introduce our new guest for today, I failed to mention Isaac's bio, and I wanted to share information about his book. So, Isaac is a graduate of Central Pennsylvania College. He has a bachelor's degree in business administration, and he is now an administrator of an early learning facility in Philadelphia. He is the husband to the lovely Ashley Cahill and the father of 3 early learners, one in second grade, one in kindergarten, and then a baby girl that's in daycare. Isaac loves people, a lover of people. He's a playwright, and he and his wife have 2 books. So get your pencils and papers ready. Remember, I said always come to Learning with Ms. Nancy with a pad and pencil. So if you go to Amazon, you can buy their books. They have 2 books for early learners. One is Daddy, Am I Pretty? How about that? Not Mommy, Am I Pretty? She's saying Daddy, Am I Pretty? And that's deliberate. And the second book is I Miss You, Grandpa. So go to Amazon and get their books and support our folks. Daddy, Am I Pretty? And I Miss You, Grandpa, written by Isaac and Ashley Cahill. Well, today we're going to continue the conversation. We're still talking about dads, y'all. And we have a visitor all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. We have brother Sam Hubbard in the building, y'all. And Sam is a wonderful wonderful man. I'm so happy to have met him. And let me give you a little information about him. I could go on and on and on. But Sam is a native of Atlanta, Georgia. He is an active member at Light of the World Christian Tabernacle in Stockbridge, Georgia. And he speaks at men's conferences and women's conferences. Look, he came to our church, Sanctuary Fellowship Worship Center, and spoke to our congregation. And he is going to be our guest speaker for Father's Day. So that's another thing that you need to just come on and send me an email, and I'll send you the link so you can come here, Sam. He assists with teaching Sunday school, and he helps organize different outreach programs in and around the Atlanta area. He is actively partnering with the Sanctuary Fellowship Worship Center here in Philadelphia, and we're so happy that he's come and he's bringing his gifts, his skills, his talents, and abilities to help uplift the name of the Lord with our church. See how Zoom brings folk together? Yes. He is an inspirational speaker. He is a life coach, an advisor, and a father of 2. He's an expert. He is gifted with a passion for helping people become the best version of themselves, and also to help people build healthy and happy relationships. So welcome to Learning with Miss Nancy, Sam.
Thank you, Miss Nancy. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
It's such a...
Sam, I know you're going to add to this conversation because I am deliberately inviting for the next couple of shows just men, because despite what people think and see, folks need to know that in our community, we have some wonderful Black men. Wonderful, and you're one of them, okay? So, Sam, let's just get right on in, because I know we only got 30 minutes, and I want to hear what you have to say, and so do the viewers, okay? So we're talking about today, fathers must invest in their children. That's the title of our show. So what does it mean for a father to invest in an early learner, their young child?
It means everything when you're talking about investing in children, period. it means everything for a father to invest in it, especially early learning, because that's the foundation. Fathers, I tell people, oftentimes I have conversations with male and female, and I tell the females, I said, by design, you all are nurturers, right? By design, men are structurers. We build structures. This whole world that we live in have been built structurally by men, right? We build structure, and that same concept holds true in relationships. We build the structure for kids. We build a foundation for them. And everything that we do to impart in our children at an early age means everything for the success of them later on.
Right. Oh, that is wonderful. Fathers build the structure. That's how it was designed. Okay. So fathers bring the structure. So when the father's not present, then I guess the structure is a little weak, maybe.
Yeah. So what happens is, and don't get me wrong, all the mothers and females that are out here listening, this is not a shot at you. I was raised by my mother doing the best she could, and what happens is women will give the best version of what they believe a father can do. And a lot of them do a great job. But a father can only be a father, and a mother can only be a mother. I hear a lot of times when we have Father's Day, I hear mothers give other mothers a shout out.
Right.
And I'm like, no. Right. Because on Mother's Day, you don't give the man a shout out for being a great mother.
Right.
You know why? Because a father can only be a father and a mother can only be a mother. Okay. Now, we can oftentimes try to manage when one is not present. But the certain structure that comes from a father, the way a child responds to a father and responds to a mother are completely different.
Okay. That's some good.
It's because the nature of the relationships, they just are.
Okay.
Prime example for me in my situation, my daughter, like my daughter, when she was born, her mother could tell her something and she'd have to say, her name is Jasmine. So she'll say, Jasmine. She'll call her a couple of times. Jasmine, you need to do this, this, and this. And Jasmine, would look a certain way and she would try to respond. For me, if I called my daughter's name,
yes,
automatic. It's automatic. She is going to get right in line and say, whoa, hey, whatever it is I'm doing, I need to stop doing.
Right.
Whatever I'm not doing, I need to do is because, and it's not because, I was some terrible, strict father but it's the sound of my voice when I talk to her automatically speaks a level of discipline that her mothers didn't. Okay. And fathers kind of almost command a different level of respect, if you will. Now, respect is supposed to be a platform in all relationships, but there's different types of respect.
Right.
And children respond, statistically speaking, if you go to, there are different platforms out here like blackdemographics.com, those things that do surveys on our culture. And they even tell you that men raising children singular by themselves without the mother present have a higher success rate as far as education is going, the way the child progresses, and they're least likely to be imprisoned. Wow. It's almost 3 out of 4 when you're talking the other end of the spectrum. And not saying that women are, aren't capable of raising productive citizens as children, but it's a different dynamics. Right. And it's merely because the platform that men set up versus what women set up and the way children respond to them are different.
Wow. So what was that website again? Can you repeat that in case some of the
blackdemographics.com.
Blackdemographics.com. Because I was telling the viewers last week that we need data and research because it helps just give us clarity on some things, because we sort of operate under stereotypes. But when you actually have some good data and research, it gives us a broader perspective on the subject. And thank you for that. And I even shared last week, for some reason, it's just been given to men. When men walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. Whether people want to admit it or not, It does. I know mothers always say, wait till your father comes home. Why do they say that? That's an
Right.
old saying that they're still saying that. Wait till I tell your day, right? Things change. That's some good information. Folks, make sure you're picking up this information and writing it down. All right. So the next one is, how does investing in early learners help to develop good social skills for them, for our small kids?
We are pretty much our first form of teaching when it comes to our children.
Yes.
Whether it is structured DNA wise, because children learn a lot from the birthing process and what we give to them biologically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also it helps warp and shape who their identity is. Whether if like you said, we change the atmosphere, we set the proper atmosphere for children.
Mm-hmm.
We set a good learning environment, a happy, loving, healthy environment. If we start to have relationships, oftentimes you'll hear people say, the father is the first man that a child will love.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a daughter, right, you have to set up structure on teaching your daughter the proper things that a man should come with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Respect, love, care, leadership, all those things come from the father.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a conversation earlier with a friend of mine, and with the word leadership. Leadership, when it comes to relationships with a father and a daughter, a father and a significant other, father and a wife, a husband and a wife. The word leadership, right? If you kind of play on words with that, it says lead her ship.
Okay. Break that down.
We should be steering the ship in the right direction so that they can stay the course. So your daughter should be able to look at you as a prime example and say, this is what a man should come with, right? If you are anything like myself, if you believe in a higher being, that you should have a spiritual based relationship between you and your daughter. Me and my daughter call me, and we'll do what we call spiritual moments. And I'll take a scripture and we'll read the scripture and we'll break that scripture down. We'll take about 10 minutes out of a day and say, this is the word, this is the description, this is what it means, and this is how it's applicable in your life. So you have to have a good spiritual foundation with your child, right? You have to have a good teaching foundation. You can't be too hard or too soft.
Okay.
You can't tell a child, oh, this is how you do it. And they say, well, I don't understand. You say, well, don't worry about it. I'm just going to do it for you. You'll get it next time.
Right.
That's not how you should operate. And you can't be on the other end of the spectrum and say, you're going to get this now.
Right.
You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that until you get this. You can't beat it in your head also. You have to have an even balance of things when you're talking about dealing with your children. And that goes the same when you have young male children also. Your young son should be able to look at you and be able to pattern himself behind you in a way that he becomes a productive member of society, and that they develop social assets that'll help them, whether it's in a professional or personal realm.
And that's important because a lot of parents need to realize that their children get their social cues from them. And I know when I was in education, even though I went to school to be a teacher, I found myself being the mother in place, the parent in place. Because you really, if you're in charge of anybody's child, whether it's in the rec room, whether it's in the classroom, Sunday school, if you're the adult in charge of children, you're the parent in place, the parentes in loco or local parentes. And so many times children come with like a set schema as to how things should be, right? But they've learned that from their parent. So a lot of the children that I encountered, I found myself having to help them reverse that thinking. You know, you don't come and you don't stand in front of adult and if adult asks question, what? That's not how socially we function. It's yes. You know what I mean? So you learn certain cues, certain social cues, certain ways in which you're to interact with folk. And if parents aren't teaching that at home, right, then the child is in for a rude awakening when they get out in the world. And I don't care what you watch on Facebook, a lot of that stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram is not real. It's not real. You're not walking up to grown-ups acting the way some of these kids do because they're in for a rude awakening. So I think, like you said, fathers invest in the children by helping them to develop the appropriate social cues so that they can adequately, maneuver through society, in and out, weave in and out. Because if they don't learn how to shift that gear, brother, we're in for trouble. And that's the problem I find. And that's what I find. A lot of our kids stay in one gear. You don't ride a bicycle in one gear, right? Exactly. So at home, you might act this way, but your dad needs to teach you, or mom, when you go on the street, you act this way. When you go in school, you act this way. So that they learn. They have to learn. But thanks. That's good.
Yes, children should be an extension of their parents. Because no matter how you look at it, we're all extensions of each other in some way. Right. Like you just mentioned, even if you're a person who are in education, you become an extension of a parent. Right. So wherever their parents may have fallen short, your level of parenting is an extension of what they've already been taught.
That's right.
And if you build a good foundation in your children, they become an extension of you because the people that they are around in society, other kids that they interact with, they can be the positive reinforcement where it is none because they're a good extension of the foundation that you've made.
Right. That's exactly right. And I had to tell this real funny story. Talk about social cues. I'm in middle school, right? And it was this one kid, he was a behavior problem. He was always in my office, but he liked coming to talk. And we talk all the time. And one day he said to me, Miss Golden, now I don't have a country accent, I don't think. He said, are you from the country? I said, what? He said, are you from, and I looked like a little offended, he said, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to make fun or anything. I just want to ask, are you from the country or from the South? I said, no. I was born in Washington. That's about as Southern as I could get, but I was raised here in Philadelphia. I said, why did you ask? Because I don't speak with the Southern twang. You know what he thought? Because I always wore dresses. I never wore pants to work. I always wore a suit or a dress, professionally dressed. And so he equated that with the movies that his mother would watch, and the women of the older days, all they wore was dresses and suits. So he thought maybe that was a country thing. You understand? So, I showed him something different. No, you don't gotta be from the country to dress up. Because I just dressed up all the time. When I went to work, that was just something that my mother raised us that way. We don't go outside. If you're going to teach children, you got to present yourself in a professional way. And that's just the way it was, because people say, why you come dressed up all the time? And I would say, I'm not dressed up. This is just, you know what I mean? So that's just a little, so like you said, kids take their cues from other people. So that was an extension of learning. All right. Now, the next question says, fathers provide, and you talked about this a little bit, a different kind of emotional support than their mother. So maybe you could talk and get some more about what that might look like. Fathers provide a different type of emotional support than a mom.
A lot of times it has, and I want to use this word, and I know it may be a little provocative when I use these two words.
Okay.
One is a stronger and one is a softer version.
Okay.
Right. Mothers have a tendency to have the right touch, that soft touch that calms and soothes, and it puts you in a good, soft place.
Mm-hmm.
A father's love shows more strength at times, right? We give a stronger version of things, and having a father show you that proverbial tough love, means a lot, you know. But we still, even though we show tough love, we have to do it with grace. You know, we have to do it with mercy.
Yeah.
Right? We have to be wise enough to understand that you have to wield that strength, if you will, in a certain way, because that equal balance is what makes a complete situation, right? Because, like you said, different cues, right? He saw that child saw one cue as far as a dress code in one way, and it says, "Wow, this is what I normally see." But when he saw you, he saw a different view and says, "Well, this must be something else." Now he walked away with a more complete view of dressing in itself. We do the same thing with love. Right? You can love and you can nurture and you can make everything feel okay. Right? But if you do that too much and not the other side, you'll start to warp the situation. Like if my son fell on the ground and hurt his knee, I try my best to say, "Listen, get up." Right? I try not to give him what I was originally taught, which is shut your emotions off.
Okay.
Right. We perpetuated some bad habits in our culture.
Okay.
You know, with a little boy, he falls off a bike, he scrapes his knee, starts to cry. We run over and say, get up. Dust yourself off. You're all right. Stand up, be a man. Come on, you daddy's little man.
Right.
That is good in a sense. But we cannot neglect the fact that he is a human. He's a child. He has emotions. So what you do is you start and say, "Listen, you okay? Are you?" You know, you communicate. And then you get their answer and you say, "Does it hurt? Where does it hurt?" It's fine. Okay. It's okay to hurt. Because you want them to be able to be in touch with their feelings and understand why they're having them. But you also say, now, okay, get up. I can't let you cry. Right? Because it's not hurt so bad that you can't walk. Can you walk? And they say, yes. Okay, take a couple of steps for me. And they do. Say, okay, good. You're going to be okay. Right? Daddy has you. I got you right here. We good. If you take them through those steps in that process, you let them be okay with being able to identify what they're feeling and why they're feeling it. But then you also strengthen them with that male energy that says, listen, it's okay to hurt, but we have a responsibility. Because as men, you have a responsibility to get back up and keep moving. Especially when you get older and you have now a family and children that depend on you to keep going. You're subtly building that structure up in your son that says, no matter what happens, you can face the situation, deal with this adversity, but as a man, you have to get up and keep going.
That's good. Now, talk about, you just said a term, we have perpetuated in our culture some bad habits. Talk about that.
It's all the way across the board. You touched on something earlier about stereotypes. You know, the way society has been taught, we as Black men will be looked at as some of the most unfit fathers, right? But in actuality, and I'll let you viewers go back and look at and just do some research for yourselves and see how many males, Black males now, are single fathers. We have more single fathers now than ever before in history. And these single fathers are turning out great children. Right? So we have to get to a place where we stop perpetuating things that we've heard, because what it does is it becomes cancerous to our own existence. You know, especially when you're talking about the household, if you're raising children and how important it is to have a good foundation when you're talking about early development, if a mother speaks ill of a father and says he's no good, and she begins to discredit Black men in the eyes of her son, guess what? Your son is going to be a Black man someday. You are automatically starting to sow negative seeds in his head about how Black men are viewed and how they're treated. And if you have a young daughter, she's learning from you also. She's learning that, oh, you know what? Black men might not be so good after all. And before she even has her opportunity to go out here and experience a wonderful Black man, she has a warped sense of who he is.
Mm.
And we will start to perpetuate those things further and further in our communities. And then you'll have the repercussions start to manifest themselves. You'll have Black men say, well, women don't give me credit anyway. You know, they look at me this way anyway. Mm-hmm. And then society begins to look at us this way. Mm-hmm. So now it gives us a negative view on how everybody else sees us. And for a lot of us, it has a negative effect on how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
So it rips the stability of a man right out from under him when the things he loves is what's tearing him down.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well said, brother. Are you, ladies and gentlemen, writing this stuff down? There's some good gems that you are dropping. That is so true. We are sometimes our own worst critic.
Yes.
And we buy into the stigma that is perpetuated. We buy into it and we invest in it. We invest in it. We got
that is so key.
Yeah.
You use that word several times, investing. You and I talked a little bit about investment. And I use this term that I created. I said, what is your fatherly credit score?
That's what I was going to ask you to talk about. Talk about it. Go ahead.
And there's a lot of things that I consider when I use this phrase. I said, what is your fatherly credit score? And I talked to some guys who I know that are good fathers.
Yes.
You know, and when you ask yourself that, I just went out and I said, let me break it down just a little bit and kind of go down the structure of how you build credit, what credit means to you, and what it does to maintain good credit. So I said to myself, first and foremost, how many men out here actually planned on opening that account? And what I mean is, did you have a child purposely? And if you did, question number 2 is, did you choose the correct institute? Right? Because if you went out here and you said, let me go get a credit card, you should hopefully have done your homework and see some of the things that come along with this credit card, right? If they got annual percentage on this card, you know, how much is the limit? What can I take from it? All those things show you how you can invest in it, right? So did you choose the right woman? Did you do the things the right way in order to start this account, right? Because choose the right institute. Be purposeful when you are investing in going down this road. Like if you choose the right person, is this a good person for you to procreate with? And if it is, then you're on the right track of hopefully developing a good fatherly credit score. And then you have to say, what does it mean to be a good father? Because those are what we consider terms and conditions of the account.
Wow.
And that helps you manage the account well when you can understand what the terms and conditions are. Right? When you know how to properly operate as a father, and can you provide the necessary things to adhere to the terms and conditions, right? Because the terms and conditions of a father is being a leader, being a protector, being a provider, being an educator, being someone who invokes love in a situation, shows patience in a situation. All those things are the fine print on that contract of becoming a father. And all those things can either help or hinder your fatherly credit score. So when you move on into a place where you say, okay, now that I've opened up this account, and it is with a person that I chose to do it with, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe this was an account that, you found yourself in, right? Then you have to ask yourself, what are some things that I've done that could have helped or hurt my fatherly credit score? Like, for instance, if you and the mother did not get along well, and you stop adhering to your fatherly duties, and the mother decided, you know what, I don't deem you, father material, so I'm going to take my child. For all intents and purposes, that's a repo.
Woo!
Or account. Because the mother has now repossessed the child from you. So now, how good is your credit score if you just had this repo on your credit score? If a woman has deemed you not fit to adhere to the positions that you have applied for.
Mm.
So now you have a repo on your fatherly credit score. What can you do about that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and try to say, hey, listen, let me get back on track with the terms and conditions of this and see if I can now take possession of this child and do the things that I need to do. Because this child is a beautiful account that you have to manage.
Mm.
So you have to do the things to make sure you stabilize this account and make sure it matures and grows in the way that it's supposed to. And Lord forbid, if you're someone who don't manage these accounts well, and now you have multiple accounts and multiple repos, then you found yourself mismanaging the wealth that you've been blessed with. Because children are wealth for us. You know, if you don't look at your children as a great asset in your life, I suggest you adjust your vision.
Mm.
Because these are beautiful accounts that we have to manage. And of course, we're going to make mistakes here and there because that's life. You know, you make missteps and make bad choices, but you do what you can to correct them. And one of my favorite quotes came from a movie years ago. It says, chances favor the prepared minds. If you prepare yourself for things, like if you say, let me not just go out here and, have, interactions with women that's going to produce these accounts that I'm not going to take care of. Before you do those things, before you say, let me do this, think about it. Prepare your mind for the engaging that you're going to do and what it means for the growth of these children and what it means for society. Because oftentimes we fail to go that far.
Mm.
Our children are now going to be a part of the society that we are going to live in. So if your child becomes a menace to society, they're a menace to the same society that you're going to be living in. And it has an effect overall.
Mm-hmm.
So also, do you make good payments to this account?
Woo! My goodness.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How much do you put into this account? This child, how much do you invest in it? How much love do you put in it? How much respect do you put in it? How much do you educate your children? How much do you assist in their growth process altogether? Because it's just like any other account. If you put nothing in, you get nothing out. Or if you start to take more out than you put in. Because if you just, weekend dad, you go see him every now and again, or you have very little contact, you only imparting very little in there.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of things, if you do a lot of negative things, that's taking from the wealth and the health of a child.
Mm-hmm.
So now you'll find your account in default.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find your account in default is when you have those negative things. Children grow up, we hear those terms, daddy issues that a young woman might have, or a mama's boy is what a child that clings too much to his mother, a male child may be called. All these things are direct reflections of mismanaging of the accounts, because fathers sometimes don't look at their situation from, and I know this is a weird pair of things when you're talking about children
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking about credit or an account.
Absolutely not. I get it.
Right, but sometimes you have to take things and
Mm-hmm.
you have to put them in a different light so people can kind of grasp the concept
Yes.
from a different aspect,
Yes.
because it helps make sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you do everything you can to go back over some of the guidelines I just set out,
Mm-hmm.
then that child will mature into a great account. And that account you can draw from. And when I say you can draw from, because that account will start to produce
Mm-hmm.
great things. That's how you get great grandchildren and great great grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, when you get to a point where you may not be able to take care of yourself very well, that account that you invested in can come back and be beneficial to you later on.
Wow. Wow.
So men, take a real hard look at what you think your fatherly credit score is, and don't You don't feel bad if you have missed the mark sometimes, because this is all learning. That's one thing about learning with Miss Nancy is great for. It helps us develop and be better in our lives.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I had another question, but I am just like mind blown. That was so beautifully articulated. And I got it. I made the connection right away. And like you said, you used a practical thing with another practical issue and brought them together. Two extremes in money investment and children, but they're really so closely related because they're our wealth. They are our, oh my goodness. And then the way you broke it down, deposits and withdrawals. And if people were to maybe pay more attention to their children like they do their bank accounts, we'd have a better relations with our children. And maybe we wouldn't be talking about gun violence all day long, because Lord have mercy, it's taken over the United States of America. But that was wonderful. Now, what about when you talk about investments? You know, there's some people that have a bank account, right? And they just let the money sit. They got the money. It's not accruing any interest, really. Savings account. They're not really investing in IRAs and all that stuff. They just let that money sit. And there are some fathers, God bless them, that are present in the house. Like if you look at the family and they leave a house, oh, they look like a wonderful family, but the dad is home, like my mother used to say, couch potato. He's not doing anything when you get in that house. That mom is doing everything, but dad is present. What kind of account is that? Would you equate that to?
That's an account that is stagnant, if you will.
Okay.
And that account can be mismanaged at any point in time. Because chances are, unless you have put a lot of money into that account, there are usually fees that are attached to that account. So if you refuse to put money in, there's money still coming out. So slowly but surely, if you don't continuously invest in your children, some things are going to come out. But the difference between a bank account and a child's account, you are the only one on your end that's managing things from your standpoint, right?
Right.
From a fatherly standpoint.
Right.
But there are so many other people out here on the child side of things that are trying to take out.
Right.
And they want to take out good things because they want to place bad things there. Right. Because if you're not managing your account properly, somebody else might be.
Right. Oh, so if fathers don't invest properly, somebody else will.
Yes.
And that investment is not necessarily a good.
And you don't want the account to manage itself.
Okay.
Because the account managing itself it sets up all types of things, right? If you leave account open, just open to whoever.
Right.
That means I can come in and take somebody out of your account.
Yes, right. That's right.
Right?
Right.
I can take as much out of this account as I want. And that's what sometimes happens. We don't manage our accounts. And I'll use daughters, for instance, right?
Yes.
If you don't properly manage this account and she gets involved with another guy, he is going to take good from her.
Yes.
If he doesn't have good intentions, he has the ability to take things out of that account that you don't want taken out, like her self-respect, right? Like her honor, how she views herself.
Wow.
He can start to take all these valuable things out of this account because you are sitting over here watching TV. You're being stagnant. You're not managing this account. And that account is susceptible to anybody who wants to come in and hack that account.
That's right. That's what I was thinking about, hacking. Because I someone tried to hack my account. And as soon as I found out, I immediately went to the bank, and changed my numbers around, got a new card. But parents, we don't do that. People can hack our account. They know our password. They have access to us, right? Because we're not protecting our investments.
Right. If you don't protect your investment, you have to realize that this account can get to a point where it's completely depleted.
Yeah.
And that's when you find women who say, I'm done. Or you find children that says, I'm going to run away from home.
Yeah.
Or nowadays, unfortunately, there's an uprising of children that are taking their own lives. That's because that account has gotten so depleted that it doesn't see anything to grow for, or it doesn't see any direction to grow into. So it either goes in a bad direction or it ceases to exist altogether. And that comes from us mismanaging.
I just have to ask again. Are we writing this? This is beautiful. I'm telling you, have dropped so many gems. I could just go on and on. I have one more final question. I wish that we could talk forever because you have opened up my mind to some things, because even though I'm a grandmom, I have to, figure out how to assist with these bank accounts that I have all in my family, because you said we could all pour in and make deposits.
That grandchild is still part of your account. It's an extension. It's an extension, right? Yeah. Originally, it's just like you can have a checking account and a savings account, right? The checking account you draw from daily, you manage daily, right? That futuristic account, that savings account. See, the grandchildren are that futuristic account. That's that account that has not come to fruition yet. So yes, it is definitely, you still have a job to do as a grandparent.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Thank you. So the last and final question, it says the kids are always looking for role models to pattern their life after. And how does an invested father serve as the absolute best role model for their early learners?
It shows an extreme line of stability when you invest in your child from the early parts of it, right? Like you speak on all the time, that prime age where they are sponges, where they soak up everything. They want to know, they want limitations. Believe it or not, when you tell a child, no, don't do this, right? That's so they can set up boundaries. But those boundaries keep them safe at times. And then it shows them, okay, I can trust also. Because if my father loves me so much, he says, don't do this because he doesn't want me to be hurt. I can trust him now. I can trust what he says. I can trust what he does because he's shown me how I can still do what I need to do, but I can do it safely and productively because he has my best interests at heart.
Yes.
Once we continually perpetuate those things forward, then they say, okay, well, let me see what else my father does. Right? If I see my father go to church regularly, he takes us to church. My father now sets up a good spiritual foundation for me. If my father treats my mother and my sister a certain way, my father now shows me a pattern I can cut from to treat other women a certain way. Wow. If my father is a hard worker, my father, if he's an avid reader, if my father is good with his hands, all these things that we pass down to our children, they soak up and they have a visual now of what this person looks like and how this person is viewed in society. Because role models are really just that. It's how society also views people. Not just how we view ourselves internally in our households, but how society views you. And the society says these characteristics of a person, of a man, of a father are good. Then now, outside and inside, you can say, I can pattern myself after this man because this man is shown all the things that are respected good in a professional and a personal realm that I should gravitate to. And now because we do those things, we can become role models, right? We are just that. We are a model for themselves to pattern ourselves after. They know how to fully adhere to their role in life, in family, in society, because the model was already made for them.
Brother Sam, let me ask you this. You said that you were raised by a single mother, and hats off, my bow off to your mother, because
she's probably watching.
it is obvious to me that she has done a wonderful, wonderful job raising you, right? But who had that male influence over your life? Because I'm telling you, you're a dynamic young man. So what man would you give credit to for assisting your mother or men in the process of rearing you? Because it does take a village, and mom did a great, great job.
I was about to say, I have a couple of people that I can credit to. One is my late Uncle Tommy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Lee Sanders. I sit back sometimes and think I see some things that I say or I do
Mm-hmm.
that remind me of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he was very old school,
Mm-hmm.
but he was very structured. Like he was a man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I work with my hands, I do X, Y, and Z. I'm a real man. He was no nonsense kind of guy.
Right.
And he had this real strong stability about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And now I find myself, I work well with my hands. I build. I'm a DIY, I'm a DIY guy. I do it yourself at home kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I do my own work on cars and everything just because of that structure.
Right.
Then throughout the course, I had some great influences, believe it or not, as teachers.
Okay.
One of the guys who is no longer with us, David Metcalf, he was my history teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he met me kind of where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was very quick-witted, so I could give responses on my feet well.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought I was a little comedian also. So, so he told me, he said, listen, he challenged me one day in class and I fired right back at him.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was one of those almost clutch your pearls moments, like, and he said something else and I fired right back at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it and he was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me after class.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well done, Mr. Hubbard, well done. He said, I see you're a thinker. You think on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't run into that very often.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him developed a really good relationship and he used comedy to do so.
Okay.
But he also told me, because I was one of those kids who started off, my mother taught me respect in the home.
Right.
When I got out by my friends, I didn't care about using the 4-letter words. So I thought I was, you can't tell me what to do.
Right.
And he heard me one day and he said, you know what? He said, I truly believe that people who use those words lack the vocabulary and ability to hold a proper conversation.
Mm.
And I said, I'm clutching my pearls at that moment. What did you just say to me? But it exploded something in my head. And still to this day, I don't curse. But it forced me to now have to increase my vocabulary enough to be able to have a conversation with somebody and articulate my thoughts, ideas, and feelings without being offensive.
Wow.
And last but not least, John Simpson, who was like a stepfather to me. And he was very much so he was a military guy. He was very much what my uncle was, but also a little bit what my uncle wasn't, because he was no nonsense to a certain degree, but he was also a little nonsense, right? Like he gave me a lot of practicality. He gave me a different view of what the world brings. It's not all just black and white. There are some areas of gray,
right? And
he'll fill those blanks out for me. So between that being the case and a great mother and a great mentor at times, Miss Phyllis Allen, I hope she is watching.
I hope so too.
All those things helped warp and shape who I was, so God saw a need in me and he was able to fill it early on. And I'm so thankful that he had a plan for my life.
Well, can I say that I am so thankful that I've met you. I think my audience, this is one of the most viewers we've had since we've started this. So they are thankful. And I'm going to let folks know that you can subscribe to Learning with Ms. Nancy and you can watch this over and over again because there's so many takeaways and you've shared a lot of precious gems that we all need to just invest in our children, all of us. Because all of us, we are just one big happy family, really, right? We're all related and interrelated, and we can all work together to build up these young people, these early learners, so that they can thrive and be successful. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. And for those who follow the Sanctuary Fellowship Worship Center, he's going to be the guest speaker for Father's Day. So just keep looking on Facebook and YouTube. I'm always posting something.
And I'm going to say this to all you all that are watching. Don't just walk away. Don't just shut your devices down. Send this to someone else.
All right.
Send this to, it doesn't even have to just be a man. Send it to women. Send this information. This information can be transcended upon, more than just the internet.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It is to be effective in the people's lives. But the best way to do that is for you to take this, send it to, I challenge you right now, send it to at least 10 people.
Okay. Send it. You heard them. Send it to at least 10 people and subscribe, please. At least 10 people.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sam. And thank you for those who are listening and watching and sharing information. And next week, we'll have another brother come on because I am intentional about my next group of guests. I am going to squash that stereotype because I know a whole lot of brothers and Black men who are doing positive things. So next week, we're going to have a brother that's coming on, and Sam talked about this, who is a single father and successfully raising his son by himself and doing a great job of it. So thank you, Sam, and thank you for those who've come. And we'll
love you, Ms. Nance.
Love you back. Yes, in this.